Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Deep Dive Law series. My name is Matthew Carpenter. I'm an attorney, and my goal is to bring you interesting legal concepts on white collar securities and AI. I'm stepping in for my colleagues today to cover an interesting article, Automated Seizures, Police Stops of Self-Driving Cars by Elizabeth Joe. Something that feels a little bit futuristic, but is in fact happening now. How the police might stop self driving cars. That's right. It isn't just about tech this time, it's really about the legal and policy earthquakes that happen when you take the human driver out of the equation. Yet it's a fascinating look at how really fundamental interactions between people and law enforcement could be utterly transformed by automation. So, our mission here in this deep dive is to pull out the key insights from this essay, then find out what gets flipped upside down, what maybe stands anchored, and what wild new questions pop up when cars can stop themselves or be stopped remotely. Okay, let's unpack this first. This essay really grounds us in the present. It reminds us just how routine, and how often traditional police traffic stops are, right? Police pull cars over for countless reasons, right? From suspected crimes to minor traffic violations. Sometimes they use what the essay actually calls pretext stops. Pretext stops, like pulling someone over for a small thing as an excuse to investigate something bigger. And these stops are, in fact, the most common way adults in the US interact with law enforcement. And they're not always safe for everyone involved. The material points out that they can be dangerous for both officers and civilians. Definitely. It highlights how they disproportionately affect non white drivers. Definitely. There's also the serious issue of high speed chases, which, wow, the essay notes have tragically resulted in over 13,000 deaths in 38 years. That's staggering, according to a review of NHTSA records. And the source material gives us glimpses of a future where police might remotely take control of, say, a stolen car, or maybe a car that has the owner still inside of it, or safely halt a vehicle that's fleeing or even being used as a weapon. We're already seeing hints of this, aren't we? Yeah, like that story about police slowing down in front of a Tesla on autopilot, forcing its automated system to stop. It's like a low-tech version of what's coming. There's also a story a while back where there was concern about hackers being able to tap into traditional vehicle computers and turning them offline. So returning back to the article, though, the essay gets pretty specific about potential future mechanisms. It talks about police potentially deputizing smart city infrastructure like roads and traffic lights to interact with cars. Can, can you imagine a traffic light getting deputized, or the road, or police systems directly controlling vehicles? There's even a concept of autonomous police cars interacting machine to machine. So police car computers talking directly to my car computer, basically identifying civilian ABSs, checking their digital credentials, issuing warnings, or maybe even citations with like minimal human involvement. Wild. And let's see, did the source mention a patent? It did. It did. Ford filed a patent for an autonomous police vehicle specifically programmed to find hiding spots, God, what a narc, and interact with other autonomous cars during stops. Okay, so this dramatic shift has huge policy implications, massive on the bright side. The essay argues automated stops could be significantly safer. But how? By removing the immediate, often unpredictable human interaction from the initial stop, you reduce the chances of misunderstandings escalating to violence or needing those really dangerous high-speed pursuits. So that makes sense. And here's where it gets really interesting from a civil rights perspective. And this part is crucial, especially to me as an African American man. The source suggests automated enforcement could actually reduce the potential for police discretion in minor stops, the very kind of stops that currently contribute to racial disparities. If a car follows rules programmed into algorithms or violations are detected and ticketed automatically, remotely, it sort of removes that subjective human element, the one that leads to uneven enforcement. The essay even floats this idea, calling it a potential unrecognized civil rights solution. That sounds promising. It's a provocative idea, though. However, this potential benefit immediately raises some serious questions. For example, if police can stop any vehicle for any violation remotely and cheaply, does that pave the way for what the essay calls mass enforcement? Sounds similar to Michelle Alexander's mass incarceration. We don't want more of that. Or even total enforcement. Ooh, that sounds worse. It's easy and cheap. Why wouldn't they enforce every little thing, right? Ooh, I didn't think about that. The article asks if our traditional probable cause standards, designed for stopping individual vehicles based on specific suspicion, are even appropriate in a world where police could potentially enforce every single minor infraction automatically. It's like lifting the natural brakes on enforcement. Hmm. And another crucial point for the material that seems huge, absolutely critical. Autonomous cars are complex computers on wheels. They're vulnerable to hacking. See, I brought that up earlier. So, how do you tell the difference between a legitimate remote stop command for the police and some hacker spoofing or faking a police signal? That's the million-dollar question. The essay highlights real-world examples of cars being hacked remotely, activating brakes, cutting the transmissions, scary stuff. And note that this kind of malicious remote interference could look alarmingly like lawful seizure by police. But how do you prove it wasn't? So, bringing this to a close, this deep dive reveals a future for policing traffic that, well, is complex and kind of contradictory. Definitely, automated stops offer compelling benefits like increased safety and potentially addressing some of those long-standing equity concerns tied to discretionary stops. But they also introduce significant new risks around the potential for total policing and the absolute necessity of ironclad security to ensure that legitimate remote action can't be faked maliciously. It's paramount. It forces us to think differently about our rights too. Rights like the Fourth Amendment, protections against unreasonable searches and seizures. Exactly how does that apply when stops can happen without a physical presence? Just computers talking to computers. Nasty stuff, nasty work. It's new territory. So, what does this all mean for you as you think about a world maybe increasingly filled with self driving cars? I know I want a Tesla. Consider this: in a future where your vehicle is programmable, connected, sorry, who should ultimately have the power to stop it? And maybe more importantly, by what rules should they play? Thank you for joining us and indulging us on another episode of the Deep Dive Law.